Good morning, I'm Taylor Wilson, and today is Saturday, July 12th, 2025. This is USA Today's The Excerpt. Today, the shift from rescue to recovery in Texas. Plus, federal immigration agents and protesters clashed during a raid at a California cannabis farm. And we hear from Nvidia CEO days after a historic market capitalization. There are still 160 people missing and at least 120 dead in the aftermath of last week's Central Texas flooding. President Donald Trump visited the region yesterday.
I've never seen anything like it. I've seen a lot of bad ones. I've gone to a lot of hurricanes, a lot of tornadoes. I've never seen anything like this.
The president's visit to Texas also came amid criticism from Democrats and others who have alleged the president's cuts to the National Weather Service might have slowed the agency's weather forecasts and flood alerts getting to residents on the morning of July 4th, as heavy rain pushed floodwaters from the banks of the Guadalupe River. At one point, Trump snapped at a reporter who asked about concerns with the community's flood alert system. Now, a week after the flash floods, rescue has turned into recovery. I spoke with USA Today national correspondent Rick Jervis for more from Texas. Hello again, Rick.
Hey, Taylor.
So let's just start with the latest from Texas, where you are. County authorities say they haven't made a live rescue since the day of the flood. That was last week. Does that mean we're now fully in recovery mode?
I think everybody pretty much agrees that now we're in full recovery mode. Rescue efforts have really tapered off. And just talking to rescuers out there, there's very little optimism that they're going to find anybody alive at this point. So right now it's fully just basically recovery mode.
How do officials decide when to call off searches? I'm sure it's different case to case, but how are they making that decision in this case?
I've been to a lot of disasters, and it doesn't seem like there's ever like a clear-cut order to go from rescue to recovery. I feel like it's more kind of organic, that there's people out there looking for folks, and then it just becomes, well, let's just look along the same places, but now we're looking for victims and bodies.
Well, Rick, tell us about some of the folks you spoke with and what the day-to-day search work has been like in this week since the floods.
A couple of days ago, I actually went out with a search and recovery team. We were along Center Point, along the riverbank, and these are volunteers. These are folks from all over Texas, a couple from outside of Texas, and they just descended onto Kerr County as soon as it started happening to try to help. I actually went out with one team that was just basically scouring the riverbank of the Guadalupe River right there in Center Point. The riverbank was just choked with these piles of downed cypress trees, with debris, with parts of trailers, upended RVs. So there's all this debris around, and these guys just go, they have these kind of mini flashlights, and they're like poking in to these crevices, just looking for any sign of any person. And it's really difficult to find anything out there. One of the rescuers shared a photo with me that he took at a previous search, and it was this Ford F-250 truck completely submerged under mud and rock, where only like a couple of tires sticking out. And this is a 3-ton truck. And he was telling me if this flood completely submerged this 3-ton truck, like you can only imagine what else is under there.
Yeah, that gives us a really decent idea of what the scope is that we're talking about here, Rick. Some of these victims, unfortunately, are among countless people in the country who are presumed dead but never found months or even years after natural disasters. Who are some of the loved ones you spoke with who have gone through this previously?
We went back and spoke to some of the family members of victims of the Western North Carolina flooding, which happened last year after Hurricane Helene. It was one Ukrainian family that lost a number of family members during the actual flood. But 2 of them, a 13-year-old boy and an older grandmother, they were never found. And so this family has struggled with this for the past 10 months. And they told us that it's just incredibly difficult. They basically cremated the family members who were found. But these 2 other ones, just the fact that they're still out there, it just weighs on them so much. And so they basically feel like they'll never get closure.
So awful, Rick. You mentioned DNA technology here in this piece. What's the role of DNA technology in identifying victims, and how has this tech evolved in recent years?
Authorities are really kind of leaning in on this DNA technology quite a bit. Right now, as of Wednesdays, at least 15 adults and 13 children remain unidentified in Kerr County alone. And so these Texas Rangers, which are this kind of investigative body out here, are collecting DNA from both family members and the actual deceased, and then flying that up to University of North Texas near Dallas for analysis, and they're trying to figure out who these people are, because some of the people who have been collected, some of the victims, are not recognizable anymore. We talked to a couple of experts who told us that DNA technology has really evolved over the years, and it's actually a lot better now. It used to take weeks, if not months, to send it to a lab and try to get results. And these days, they're basically just like getting it back within days. And so we talked to another expert who talked to us about Hurricane Katrina. It's 20 years this year, actually, that Hurricane Katrina slammed into the Gulf Coast, killed more than 1,800 people. It's 20 years later, and there are still 30 people who have not been identified in that disaster. So it's a very challenging, taxing task.
What's next for this part of Texas and these communities that have lost so many and so much?
So there's a lot of volunteers out there that are still going out there, scouring riverbanks, trying to find any sign of some of these victims. I think that that's actually going to continue to go on for the foreseeable future. And meanwhile, there are folks coming back to their homes, coming back to their actual communities that were just destroyed and trying to rebuild.
All right, Rick Jervis is a national correspondent with USA Today. I appreciate you, Rick.
Thank you, Taylor.
Immigration agents raided a cannabis operation and arrested hundreds of workers on Thursday in California. Teresa Romero, president of United Farm Workers, said in a statement that some workers were critically injured during the raid and that others, including U.S. citizens, remain unaccounted for. Later, the union reported one person had died, but the information was not confirmed. A man was reported in critical condition at a local hospital, and a family member who organized a GoFundMe campaign said doctors did not expect him to survive. The farm worker reportedly fell 30 feet during the raid. Migrant activists facing off with federal agents on Thursday came amid the Trump administration's latest escalation of its campaign for mass deportations of immigrants in the U.S. illegally. The administration has made conflicting statements about whether immigration agents will target the farm labor workforce, about half of which is unauthorized to work in the U.S., according to government estimates. The Glass House Farms greenhouse complex is one of the largest licensed cannabis farms in California, with more than 5 million square feet of growing space. The State Department will lay off more than 1,300 people as part of a broad restructuring plan. That's according to Reuters, which said it had seen an internal notice, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio confirmed to reporters this week that the department was proceeding with the cuts. Rubio first announced plans to reorganize the department in April, but the plans were put on hold when a federal judge blocked them in May. On July 8th, the Supreme Court reversed that block, essentially allowing layoff plans to move forward at multiple federal agencies, while the lower court continues hearing the case over whether the layoffs are legal. Nvidia grabbed a market capitalization of $4 trillion this week, making it the first public company in the world to do so. USA Today White House correspondent Francesca Chambers sat down with the company's CEO, Jensen Huang, to talk about the valuation and more.
Thanks for sitting down with us today. You were at the White House meeting with President Trump. What did you tell him? Why were you there?
He was super happy and proud. Nvidia became the most valuable company in the world. We spoke about American technology leadership and how the computer industry, which is a national treasure of America, how it can continue to grow and can continue to lead the world. We spoke about reindustrialization, bringing manufacturing and building things and craft and skilled craft labor into America again, and updated him on the work that we're doing in this area. We're manufacturing chips here in the United States and building these AI supercomputers in Texas and packaging them in Arizona. And so we're doing a whole bunch of stuff here.
As far as manufacturing goes, you talked about the reindustrialization of America. Do you think that America needs to ramp up its manufacturing of chips?
Yeah, absolutely. President Trump's vision to manufacture in the United States, it's great for our industries. It's great for our society. We've lost a lot of manufacturing capability and skills, and which is really great for skilled craft and people that work with their hands and build things. We want to celebrate that. We want to bring that back to the United States. It's very important to national security, industrial security, supply chain resilience. So all together, whether it's for economic benefits or national security benefits or social benefits, I think it's going to play a huge role.
Do you think that businesses like yours need to swallow some of the pain that would come from a semiconductor tariff in order to increase that manufacturing that you were talking about?
You know, there were tariffs and taxes and all kinds of rules and regulations before I started NVIDIA, and they were fine. And every single year, there were rules and taxes and tariffs and policies and regulations, and we survived. Nobody likes disruptions, and no one likes abrupt changes. But President Trump will settle these deals, and countries will reorganize and resettle, and we'll work through it. And whatever it turns out to be, we'll make the best of it.
Do you think that the arrival of powerful AI apps like DeepSeek, which uses fewer microchips, do you think that that will reduce demand for your chips?
DeepSeek is an amazing miracle. It was a breakthrough on so many different levels. It is the world's first open reasoning model. It's a model that breaks a problem down step by step, thinks about each step, and solves problems that it otherwise had never been taught to do, like we do, like we reason. It could read text or give it PDFs and research papers or give it a YouTube to go watch, listen to podcast. Because it's a reasoning model, it has to be very fast. It has to use as few chips as possible. Now, the reason why that's important is because when you're thinking, you think for a long time. You don't just run DeepSeek one time. You run DeepSeek over and over and over again. DeepSeek was built on Nvidia, and now everybody recognizes what a good fortune that was. It highlights that we want every AI researcher in the world to be building on the American tech stack. And this is one of the conversations that I had with the administration, recognizing that in order for the American tech stack to remain the world standard, we have to make sure that every AI researcher in the world is building on top of the American tech stack.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate it.
Thank you, Francesca.
The FIFA Club World Cup final will be held tomorrow at MetLife Stadium in New Jersey outside New York City. English side Chelsea and French club PSG will battle it out after their respective runs to the final. You can follow along with USA Today Sports. And coming up tomorrow morning, USA Today Sports columnist Christine Brennan was watching a game between Iowa and Indiana in 2023 when she saw Caitlin Clark heave a buzzer beater to win it. That's when she knew Clark was different.
I think it helped me understand how fascinating she was and that she's really, yes, a basketball player, but really an entertainer. She's the high wire act. And I think once you understand that, you can begin to understand the fascination that the nation has with her.
Christine's new book, On Her Game, Caitlin Clark and the Revolution in Women's Sports, tells the story of Clark's meteoric rise and its impact on sports. Hear my conversation with her right here tomorrow morning, beginning at 5 a.m. Eastern Time. And thanks for listening to The Excerpt. You can get the podcast wherever you get your audio. And as always, you can email us at podcasts@usatoday.com. I'll be back tomorrow with more of The Excerpt from USA Today.